Hello, this is Inside the Press Box with Sunil Sunder Raj for the Everyday Fan Sports. Tonight, I'm happy to be speaking with Ryan Pini, senior offensive lineman on the Caldwell High School varsity football team. Ryan, again, thank you so much for taking some time out to speak with me tonight. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hey, congrats, Ryan, to you and the rest of the team. I said on an absolutely I just amazing, unbelievable year,
Yeah,
undefeated. It said not only said sectional champs, but regional champs. The third undefeated team since I think 1981. The
yeah.
longest active winning streak in the state of New Jersey. Well, I mean, you had some time now to sit back and think about what you guys were able to accomplish this season. Just what comes to your mind first, Ryan?
I mean, there's a lot. Now it's all starting to sink in. Like now that I've had a little bit of time, like we really like did it like what we wanted to do, our goal all along, all the hard work, it's finally like paid off.
Mhm.
Because I mean, immediately after it was just a lot of celebration, so I didn't really have time to reflect on it.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. I mean, it finally hit me like not a couple days ago, like all the work, all the double sessions, like back in the summer, like all the work that we put in, all the team bonding we did, it finally paid off.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, what's amazing is that it's so dominating. I mean, like the fact that five shutout wins, I believe, 10 of the 12 games, the team scored 30 points or more. The closest game, I think, occurred on October 8th with a 30-22 win over Cedar Grove. To see, again, as you said, all that hard work, two of these, that week after week, that you guys were just putting opponents away, like, so fast. I mean, just talk about that. I mean, it just, I mean, for you, I mean, the rest of the team and this coaching staff, again, it just, that must have been, just incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I think it starts with the coaching staff. I mean, we would see them every Sunday. They would be getting together. They would be games like they started their game plan then for each team, and they would set a game plan together and they would instill it with us, and
Mhm.
they would just get it into our heads. And when it came time on Friday or Saturday morning, in the case of MetLife,
Yeah.
we were just ready. We just had to execute what they had taught us to do all week. That's all it was.
Yeah, no, I agree. Look, another impressive thing is that this is such a young team. I mean, the majority of this team is coming back next year, which is even
Yeah.
scarier, I think. But uh, I counted, like, it said on one of the sites, I think close to 15 seniors on this team. For
Mhm.
this senior group heading into this season, I think the ultimate goal for every team is a state championship, sectional and regional. But what was it for you guys that heading in to this final year and the journey here at Caldwell High School? Anything that you had a particular goal in mind as well, Ryan?
Well, I mean, like most teams, like you said, the goals was a championship.
Yeah.
Our senior class, I mean, I think the special thing was like we really were never all that dominant. Like, especially through the youth years, we didn't. It took us till we didn't win till sixth grade. Like our first 3 years, we lost every single game.
Mhm.
So we were. It wasn't like we were always dominant. I mean, our like my sophomore year, we went 1-8. Like we were not. We were a terrible team then. So I think this year we came in with that chip on our shoulder, like we're here, we want to go out with a bang, and that was like our goal going into the year. Like we knew we could do it, and that was our goal. Like our motivation was we finally want to show what we're really all about.
Yeah. Hey, talk about how tough this was. I mean, this past year, I mean, especially we're still in the midst of this COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, last year's seniors, I mean, didn't get a full season. But here, said, talk about this year in terms of, just getting prepared for this season, off-season weightlifting, conditioning, and then into the summertime. I said 2 days. Just talk about that over this past year now. Like, just again, I mean, all that hard work, as you alluded to, said did pay off, but just what that entailed for you and the rest of the team.
Yeah, I mean, it started all the way back at the end of last season, because usually our off-season like weightlifting program was done through the school, but we couldn't do that because of COVID, so we had to make amends, and all we did, we went to a local gym instead. We had to pay, but we were able to get everybody to do it. Everyone committed to doing it, which that was great. And then ever since then, I mean, eventually we were let back into the school, which that was fine, but a lot of early mornings throughout the winter was either getting up at 7 a.m. to lift or getting up at 7 a.m. to run. That was
Yeah.
kind of the daily schedule for all of us. So it was like we all had to buy in to wake up early, even on the summer, like that's supposed to be the off time. But up until August 9th, I believe it was, every single day we were getting up at 7, and then that came. getting up at 7 o'clock again. I mean, we weren't getting a lot of sleep, not a lot of off time, but that's part of the fun of playing football.
Yeah, no, definitely the grind, said, and again, putting in those long hours and, said that commitment to, being the best. Just describe that first regular season game, said putting the pads, the jersey on, the helmet, taking the field, and
Mhm.
fans back in the stands, parents, alumni, cheerleaders,
Mhm.
band. I mean, just that overall environment, Ryan.
Yeah, the atmosphere at that first game is something I'm never gonna forget. I mean, that was also our senior night. We decided to do it for week one, so that was
Okay.
already like a special feeling.
Yeah.
We knew that was going to be a big game for us Mountain Lakes. I mean, we know where they went. They made it to their sectional championship. They were a good team, so
Mhm.
we had that circled. Like we knew what we could be, but we wanted like to prove what we could be in that case. So we wanted to go out there and get that big win because I mean, my junior year we went 6-3, but we didn't really beat any teams that were outstanding.
Yeah.
So this was like we're gonna start off strong with beating this team. That was our goal the entire summer. So there was a lot of hype going into that game. Like we were ready for it, and the atmosphere didn't. It was amazing. I mean, the atmosphere helped us out a lot. I'll say that.
That's terrific. Hey, let's just pinwheel back to that game against Cedar Grove, which was the closest game of the season,
Yeah,
30-22. Talk about that game, Ryan.
that that was another game unlike anything I've ever been a part of. I mean, because well, obviously having to travel to Cedar Grove, it makes it a lot harder than being in front of your own fans.
Yeah.
We had that was another game that we had circled. We were ready for that game, especially since Cedar Grove was our last loss. That was a very good game our junior year. We lost by 6 points on the like we had the ball, we threw an interception with 30 minutes or 30 seconds left in the game, I should say.
Mhm.
But yeah, that was a fight. Like that was one of the biggest fights we've had to been in. Like close all throughout. Never felt safe throughout the entirety of the game. I mean, we had the lead the entire game, but it really never felt safe. I mean, some of the craziest plays, like the first play, first offensive play, we scored a touchdown. Second defensive play, we had an interception. I mean, the game being won on a punt return. It's like, what else is going to happen in this game? It's awesome.
It's great. Uh, I was going to ask you. You said I wanted to, move on to the, of course, the sectional win over Hanover Park, but
Mhm.
wanted to ask you about, I said playing the offensive line.
Yeah,
Said the rest of your line mates as well, and I mean, just again, you talk about on the offensive side of the ball, starting with your junior quarterback. Said Luke Curzum. Can you talk? I mean, just who put up again astronomical numbers here. Said over 1,800 yards completed, what almost 80% of his passes, 19 touchdowns. Talk about him, and I said a junior who's got another year left.
yeah.
Just let's start first there with the line, and then of course Luke.
Yeah, I mean the line we were very close knit. We all were like brothers to each other. I mean that was I think a big part of it. We were always with each other. Like we all knew each other very well, and we kind of knew going to the season that a lot of what we were going to do came down to us. Like we were going to we had to dominate.
Yeah.
We knew there was a lot of expectations with us, so that was kind of our motivation. Like we don't want to let people down. Because we knew that if we were able to open up holes, then it would be able, like you mentioned, Luke Curzum. I mean, if we were able to open up holes in the run game, it would open up the pass game for him. And
Yeah.
whenever the run was getting stuffed, like Cedar Grove, we really weren't able to run the ball. Whenever we needed to put the ball in Luke's hands, he was able to do that, what he needed to do and more. I mean, you could just look at his stats for the first two playoff games. I believe 3 touchdowns against Whippany Park and Westfield. I mean, he can throw, and the thing is, his brain, he's got a football IQ that I've never seen before. I mean, he's phenomenal. He always knows how to find the open receiver. And the other thing is his legs. I mean, I mean, he didn't run the ball as much later in the year, but Mountain Lakes, he had the second touchdown in the game, a nice 30-yard rushing touchdown. Same thing against Hanover Park the first time.
Mhm.
Like that's the thing. He's able to run the ball. He's a real dual threat quarterback, but with that brain of his, it's something amazing to be a part of.
It's wonderful. A couple other guys wanted to, definitely mention Pat Capizzoli and Harry Bolin. I mean, those two were instrument. I mean, you talk about players that really made an
Yeah.
impact on the field in terms of, rushing and then receiving yards and touchdowns. Just talk about those two guys as well, Ryan.
Yeah, well, first Pat, I mean, that's someone I've grown up my whole life with. Like I've been friends with him ever since I was a little kid. We've played football ever since third grade. I mean, that's really brought us close. So fun. I mean, he's always been doubted because he's not like he's always been seen as like a smaller kid. So like is he really going to be able to execute like this? But when he was finally given the ball in his hands, I mean, he's a workhorse. I'll tell you what, it's very hard to like imagine that he's like 5'3", maybe 150 or 140, and he's able to like run over kids. I think it was the first Hanover Park game, the announcer for Morris Sussex said that he was like carrying a kid twice his size, like he was like he'll be dragging defensive linemen with him with his small frame. It's amazing to see.
Yeah.
And then Harry, I mean, he's special. That kid is flat out special. I mean, he proved it in the MetLife game.
Yeah.
He did everything and some. But he's a workhorse. I mean, he's all the time. Like he'll be the first one in the weight room, last one out the weight room. He basically lives in there. He's put all the work in to be as good as he is, and he deserves everything he gets with that.
Yeah. And I just on the defensive side of the ball, I wanted to mention, it's Julian Caselli and Joey Marinello. I mean, both had over 100 tackles this year. I mean, that was just eye-popping. That really stood out to me. I was like, I mean, I know it takes a collective unit, Ryan, but to see those two guys especially, you know, said with the numbers they put up, I just talk about them as well.
Yeah, I mean, well, both of them had big responsibilities coming into the year because they were both filling in for seniors first last year. Julian filling in for Tyler Nolan, who, I mean, was a starting linebacker for us for 3 years. And then Joey Marinello filling in for Ethan Cavallo, who was one of our defensive leaders. I mean, as sophomores to do what they did, it's almost unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, Joey was as sure of a tackler as anyone else. Like when he was going up to the carry, you almost knew he was going to make the tackle. And I mean, Julian's just I've never seen a sophomore do what he has done. I mean, he can do everything defensively. He's flying all over the field. He's hitting people like I've never seen. Like every game, I feel like there's a play that makes me sit back and just think, how the heck is he like, how is he doing this? It's almost unbelievable.
Yeah, no, I agree. Okay, let's move to the Hanover Park game. First sectional title since 2008, I believe. Talk about just that game. And then, of course, when the final buzzer went off and you guys were, said sectional champs, just talk about that game, Ryan.
Well, going into the game, our big thing was like every week we tried to set up a new challenge, and our challenge for that was we want to beat a team twice. We beat them earlier. We beat them pretty well earlier, but that game was in the rain. Like we knew the conditions were very different. But that was our thing. We want to beat a team twice. Beating a team once is hard. Beating them twice is way harder. And we knew they were a different team. I mean, they surprised us when they beat Ramsey. We all were shocked. Like we were like, okay, this is a different Hanover team. So we knew we had to prepare. We knew what they were going to do. And I mean, we did what we had to. And when the buzzer went off, it was an unbelievable feeling. It was great. I mean, we knew we had one more game, but to finally like bring a trophy home, do that. It was our first one in 13 years. Yeah. That was awesome. I mean, we had the feeling, the student section rushed the field. I was on the sidelines at the time. I didn't really know because it was a weird situation with the delay of game or something. I didn't know when the buzzer sounded. I didn't know until the student section rushed the field. But when that happened, it was just absolute joy on the field. It was just all of us celebrating with no care.
Yeah. As you said, you had one more game to play. So, I mean, you know, it's that final game of your career in a Caldwell Chiefs, uniform. I'm going to, then having to, prepare for that. Talk about the week leading up to that game against Jefferson, playing at MetLife Stadium, as said for the North Group 2 regional championship. Just describe that final week there leading up to the game, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, well, you didn't have to get us shoe stuff to play that game because we knew at the venue we were all very, very excited to play there. Yeah. We had, since Jefferson had played Rutherford on the Saturday, we actually had the chance to go and watch the game. So we kind of got to see them in person beforehand. So they gave us a scope of what they were going to do. Yeah. They were good. They were good. We knew we were going to have to prepare a lot for them. I mean, the thing was they were a big team. They had size that like we hadn't seen before. So that was really what we had to prepare for. Just do that and some. And I mean, when it came time for the MetLife game, it felt surreal just playing in it. Like it didn't feel like playing in a normal football game. I'll say that. Yeah. It's something that will be memorable. I'm never going to forget that. I mean, when the buzzer sounded at the end of that game, whole different feeling. Like it's finally over. We did it. Yeah. Like knowing that there was no more to be done. As a team, we had conquered everything that we could.
Yeah, just talk about the support, like, said from fans, from family in the stands. And of course, as you said, that environment, coming, the locker rooms there, NFL locker rooms, playing on the NFL field, in NFL stadium. I mean, you talk about bucket list items that I'm sure is definitely one you can cross off, there, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, I like in my life, had the chance to go to MetLife a few times for Giants games and Jets games,
Yeah.
but totally different experience this time around. I mean, getting there on the bus on the way there, our town set up like a little parade just like to send us off. So that was awesome. The community support.
Yeah.
Getting off the bus and walking in was a surreal feeling. We got to pass the Giants locker room. I mean, that was awesome. Like being in an NFL locker room, totally different feeling. We also had the chance to just go out on the field before the game, like for like 10, 15 minutes and just take it all in, which I think was awesome. I mean, something that very few people get to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the community really showed out on that day. I mean, it was great to see. I mean, they showed out in the sectional final here again, just to see the stands. Like, we're not a big town. I mean, we're a Group 2 school. It's not like we have a lot of kids or like a lot of like people, anyways. But to see like that, we were filling the stands up. Like our little small town is all coming out to see us play. Like that was just an amazing feeling to have the entire town support us.
That's fantastic. Hey, I wanted to ask you, putting that Chiefs jersey on, that number 68, just what that represents to you personally, Ryan.
Um, the 68, I can't remember the Giants player actually. It was my number in third grade, the first year I played. I believe it was because at the time I was a right guard. I can't remember the player's name at the time in 2013, but I chose it because of him. I was actually 66 for the majority of my career. That was
Okay.
really like my number. And that was because of David Deal, if you remember him on the
Yeah.
Giants,
Mhm.
because I was a left tackle in fourth grade, and I just ran with the number ever since. Like that, 66 was always my number. I switched to 68 because when I was a sophomore, someone already had it, so already had 66. But
Yeah.
I like the change. I felt like going from 66 to 68, it was like moving on and like, okay, like it matters a little bit more now. Like
Yeah.
going from freshman ball to varsity ball, that was really like the big significance behind it. Like 68 is like the new me, like the varsity me. Like I'm gonna spend the last years of football with this number.
Yeah. You talk about the culture, the brotherhood. I wanted to ask you about, playing home games at Caldwell High School, but also as well as those bus trips, those road trips as well. Playing the road games. Talk about those moments, because I'm sure those are special times, and
Mhm.
that'll carry on. For years to come, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, on the way there, there's not much to talk about. It's a silent bus. Everyone's
Yeah.
got their headphones in, ready to go. But the way back is, oh, it's fun. We have some characters on our team. And it's really a fun time. You got kids singing on the bus, dancing on the bus. It's great. I mean, music's blaring. We're having like a mini party on the bus. I mean, what else could you
Yeah.
ask for on the way back from a win?
Yeah, no, I agree. Hey, don't want to forget about this coaching staff. Head coach Tom Lamont. Talk about what they've meant to you. Said here the past 4 years, Ryan.
I mean, Coach Lamont. Where could I start with him? I mean, he's just a phenomenal man.
Yeah.
I mean, he's done everything for me. He's always ready to go. If I have to ask him a question, like email him, he'll respond like whenever. He's like great to talk to, easy to talk to. He's always has us ready to go. And I mean, most of the coaching staff, one of the benefits of being in a small town is I've known most of them my entire life. Like our town runs a youth football camp and it's run by a good amount of the coaching staff and some of the players. So
Mhm.
the coaching staff, I've grown up going to those camps and I've known them like my entire football career. So going into there, I already have the like family atmosphere. Like I've already been with them my entire life going into the program. It's not like I'm meeting a bunch of new people.
Yeah, no, it's terrific. Hey, just have a couple more left, Ryan. Wanted to pivot back to Caldwell High School. Just talk about the support from the student body. Athletic director Dan Romano, I believe, principal Jim Devlin. Just talk about the administration, athletics. What they've in terms of support for you and the rest of the team. As well.
I mean, Caldwell Nation always showed out for us. Chief Nation always showed
Yeah.
out. Our student section, we call them the tribe. And they all, yeah, they're always great. Always. They always have the music blaring. They're always loud. They have all. I mean, they support us a lot. Even though most of our games weren't exactly close, they still stayed through. Even when the weather wasn't exactly the best, they still stayed through. I mean, they support us. It's all of our friends outside of like off the field. They're all our friends. So,
Mhm.
it was great that they're just able to come out and support us.
It's not just about being an athlete, it's, also student athlete. And when I was looking, at the numbers you put up, that there was a 4.32 GPA or 4.34 and a 34 on your ACTs. I mean, that's not easy to do. I mean, the fact that you've been able to balance it out and be able to have such, said incredible numbers as far as your grades are concerned. just talk about that time management, being organized, just setting that, benchmark, that you've been able to do here the past 4 years, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, I've always kind of like I've always like on a schedule I seem to work better, so it was always fine. I mean, that was all like a lot of it. The ACT was during my junior year, so I was
Okay.
studying for that while also like during football because I took it in
Yeah.
December. So that was just like a really tight schedule. Sometimes I'd have to leave practice 5 minutes early just to get to my SAT or ACT tutoring on time.
Mhm.
It didn't leave a lot of time. I would have to spend like a lot of late nights doing homework, a lot of time preparing for it, but I mean, I had those high scores in mind at like all the time, like that. I want to get these scores. I want to get these scores. Like that was the goal all along. So even though it was a struggle a lot of times and there wasn't a lot of free time for me, it finally paid off. I mean, seeing that the 34 for the first time was an
Yeah.
absolutely amazing feeling.
No, that's tremendous. As family is also important as well. We'll talk about, parents, if you have siblings, just what they've meant to you during this journey as well, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, their support, I can't even start with it. I mean, my mom has always been there for me. She was like whenever, so she's always been supporting me, always going to support me. I mean, even through like those late nights where it'd be midnight and I'd still be doing homework, she'd be up supporting me. Like I'd be going, she'd be hearing me go to sleep. She'd come over like, oh, say like good job, like say encouraging words to me when she knew I needed it. She'd always make sure I'm balancing out all this work with like the fun. Like you need to be able to relax. And I mean, my dad's always been supporting me. He's always been pushing me like to go the extra yard, go the extra mile. And even like through the COVID times, like when I wasn't really supposed to be with other people, he would go with me because I was a center for my first 2 years, sophomore and junior year. He would go and be my quarterback so I could snap the ball.
Oh, that's great.
Like he would always do that for me. Like everything I needed him to do, he would do that, and then he would do more. Like I'm very superstitious. One of the things would be eating the exact same sandwich every Friday. So
Okay.
he would always every Thursday go and get it for me. So like things like that, little things like that. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
seem that important, but it means the world to me.
Yeah, no, it definitely adds up. That's outstanding. Thank you for sharing that story.
Mm.
I was wondering last couple here. Uh, Growing up, what sports you play? I know that I read that you play baseball as well.
Yeah.
Just wondering, like said, yeah, if there are any other sports, and then just what makes the game of football so special to play as well, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, football and baseball have been my two sports.
Okay.
Yeah, for most of my youth, it was like a lot of the people I'm friends with are like people that do both sports. Like that's the thing. Most of the people I'm friends with are from those sports. That's my big
Mhm.
connection. I mean, for what does football mean to me? I mean, so I mean, it's taught me so much. Like it's helped me become a team, like become like it's the ultimate team sport. Like everything
Yeah.
has to be working in harmony in order to like succeed. So that like collaboration, I've become way better with that. It's taught me a lot about leading, like being a captain this year. That's been an amazing experience. I'll use that like this opportunity throughout the
Yeah.
rest of my life. And even like persevere this. I mean, my junior year, I dealt with two sprained ankles for half the year, so I still had to play through it, even though it hurt, even though I have to go and get my ankles taped before every practice. Like it really taught me how to fight through,
Mhm.
especially through the 1-8 season sophomore year. I mean, we really had nothing to root for. We really weren't playing for anything. So just knowing that you still had to get up and go to practice and like still work, like it wasn't just like, oh, football's over because we're not good. Like
Yeah.
still having to go and do that, even though you're not real, like the goal of the championship is not attainable this year. Like still all those like everything you take from that is something that I know I'm going to use later. And it's like I wouldn't have had it if I didn't play football.
It's tremendous. That's well said. Hey, I know you mentioned the Giants before. I'm wondering when it comes to the NFL, any players that, especially on a Sunday, that you pay particular attention to, in terms of maybe offensive lineman, Ryan?
Offensive lineman wise, well, for the really Nick Gates is like the one guy in the Giants
Okay.
because he's got a little like attitude to him. He loves sticking up for his players. So like
Hmm.
always like he's someone right now that I've always like I look up to now. David Deal, like I mentioned in the
Yeah.
past, like he's been someone I've always looked up to. I mean, outside of the line, Sterling Shepard is kind of he's been my favorite player. He's been the namesake of my fantasy football team for the past 4 years. So
Okay.
that's my little special connection to him. Anyone in my league, you know that.
Yeah.
So that's why I have a little connection to him. But
Yeah.
yeah, like all time, David Deal is just like so he has a special place because of like he's
Mhm.
the reason I was 66 for all these years. Like he's special to me.
Very good. Uh, Okay, I think you're in a perfect spot here. As said, you've represented, as said, your team, so well. As said, on and off the field. What your message is for younger kids, as said athletes that want to end up hopefully one day, said with the type of success you've been able to attain. Just what your advice is to them.
The biggest piece I think is keep dreaming.
Yeah.
Because it may not start off well, it may not start off strong. There's going to be tough times. It's never going to come easy, but just keep working, just keep dreaming, keep that goal in mind. As long as that goal's in mind, you're never going to give up. That's the thing. Just
Yeah.
keep going, keep going, keep going until you can't anymore. Just keep pushing and keep dreaming because eventually it'll pay off. Everything will happen for a reason.
It's great. Okay, Ryan, you have the last word, which is a new segment I've come up with. You have the floor for family, friends, teammates, Caldwell High School, the community of Caldwell. You have the last word.
Well, first shout out my parents. I know I mentioned them earlier,
Yeah.
but I definitely wouldn't be there without what they did. Shout out to my teammates, my fellow seniors, because all the work we've put in has enabled me also to be here. Special shout out to a teammate and also one of my close friends, Ty Vestola. He has his surgery for his ACL coming up in a couple of days, so hopefully that goes well.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, and then shout out to the entire Caldwell football community. The support this year has been absolutely outstanding. It's been something that I'm never going to forget, and I really thank all you guys for showing out this year because it's made my senior year start off special. And the last time me putting on a uniform, you guys have made it an absolutely unforgettable experience.
Well said. Ryan, it's just been an incredible honor and privilege, to interview you. Thank you for the opportunity. And again, congrats on your success this season and to the rest of the Caldwell Chiefs, varsity football team on, the undefeated season, sectional and regional championships. And, wishing you continued success, especially with graduation, next year, 2022. And then, of course, out to college as well.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity of having me on here.
Thank you.
Mhm.